everyone, and welcome to Club 3, episode 43 of Rolling in the Isles, an FM20 British Isles Journeyman series with me, the United City FM. Welcome along, it's great to have you with me. So at Derby County, fairly early on in Season 3 in the Premier League, we've had a little bit of a mixed bag recently with results, but only minutely. It's been pretty decent, really. So the last time you and I were together was the amazing win that we got against Chelsea. Back-to-back wins, Everton and Chelsea, which is great. Then, unfortunately, the curse of the London club re-hit us again. Even though we beat Chelsea, we lost to Arsenal in the League Cup. It was such a difficult draw so early in the competition. I'd have loved to have got through a few more rounds, but Arsenal are sitting top of the table and we just couldn't compete with them, basically. It was a narrow 1-0 win. It wasn't terrible, but, not too bad. But in the end, we lost 1-0, and that's just the way it worked. So then we had a brilliant match against Manchester United. At home, we went with our controlled possession. We tried to dominate the game. And if you saw my tweet that I put out last night whilst I was playing through it, we really did it very, very nicely. Many more shots on goal than them, a lot more possession than they had, and we dominated the game really very nicely. And it was Loku Doku who was the absolute star of our show. And then, unfortunately, excuse me, as I got an itchy eye, and then, unfortunately, he got injured and he's out for a couple of weeks. Not too long, but a couple of weeks. So he's going to miss the next little bit of game time. So that was unfortunate. But anyway, it continued. The next game against Birmingham continued our good run of form. And then again, we came up against Arsenal again. And sitting top of the league, they are just too good for us just at the moment. We are improving all the time. Both Tottenham and Man United are struggling a little bit this season, and we've looked pretty decent when we came up against Manchester United recently. But Arsenal are head and shoulders way out on top and looking very good. So it just dented the confidence again. And then we came against an away game against Burnley, and it never got going again. We got a 1-0 lead, but they pegged us back, and the confidence went a little bit. And so just that Arsenal result, I was only 1-0 again against Arsenal, so it's not too bad. We're not being thumped by them, but just not quite good enough. And it's just lost us our momentum a little bit. So it's time to try and get that back against the Leicester side, who last season seemed to struggle quite a lot. This season, not so much. They've been reasonable. They're a couple of places behind us in the league, so they're going to be a bit tough, and away from home even tougher. But we're going to give them a good go. We'll play our controlled possession again. I don't feel like they're one of the really big guys to have to play defensively against, and we'll just have to see how we get on. If we go and have a look at the competition page, let's go into a better way for everyone to see it. There we go. So we're currently sitting in 7th. They're in 10th. There's only a couple of points difference between us early in the season, playing our 11th game of the season. And so you can see that whilst the teams directly above us have all played the 11th, if we win today, that puts us in and around the Manchester United Chelsea group as well. So we're doing pretty well, I must say. I'm really happy. But there's Arsenal sitting top of the table, 3 points clear of City. They're a really tough nut to crack this season. But that is basically the top 6, other than Watford. Watford have found themselves in the top 6 so far this season, are playing very well. Tottenham have dropped out. United were sitting mid-table, really struggling when we played them. They've obviously picked up a few wins since we beat them, and that's boosted them up a little bit in the league. So, yeah, things are beginning to settle into patterns as to what you would expect from the league, and we are doing very, very well. I'm very happy with this 7th place as we currently stand. And today we get another chance to put a few more points on the board and see if we can really put the pressure on the teams above us. So that's what we're going to do. Leicester City, as I say, tough opposition away from home, but we are going to stick with this asymmetric controlled possession style play, which is serving us very nicely. We've got a couple of injuries. Decker, the reserve goalkeeper, is out, and he's going to be out for 3 weeks, which is unfortunate, but hopefully Bazunu doesn't pick up a knock and will be fine. And then Loku Doku, as I say, he's been out for a couple of weeks. He's got a couple of days left. Won't be playing today, but he's not far from returning. But he's been a bit of a miss through that Arsenal-Burnley couple of matches that we had recently. So all of that means that today's team for the match against Leicester is Bazunu in goal and Bogle at right back, Target at left back, Romario and Harwood Bellis in central defence, with Joku, Vera and Martinez in central midfield, Knoll on the right, Guive on the left and Paoletta up top, with a bench of Story, Cooper, Ivan, Silas, Langer, Daniels and Monterese. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So I just went with, come on lads, show me what you can do. It didn't get a great response, but that's okay. Let's see whether they can convert that into a better performance than the response that they gave me. But I'm hopeful today that we'll at least give Leicester a really, really good game, as long as we don't make any silly errors. Occasional silly errors cost us a few goals occasionally, but not too often, but here and there. So if we can keep them from making mistakes today, then I think we've got a good shout. Good cross comes in early, and that header onto that far post, really unlucky, inches away from going one up, and it's a good positive start. You can see that we are dominating the possession more, which is really positive to see. Good amount of opportunities created in the early stages of the game. What I would say, just as an aside, if you can hear any clanging and banging and stuff, one of my neighbours has hired a digger and is sitting in his garden digging up some stuff, so if you can hear that, I apologise. Not much I can do about it. You shouldn't do, but you never know what can be caught by these microphones. Another chance for us to build something down the right-hand side after a little bit of a quiet patch through most of that first half. And we build up very nicely, take our time, and then go slightly long, and the Leicester City player makes an awful hash of it, and Paoletta should have done better, should have kept it low and put it to one side of the goalkeeper rather than a nice height for him to parry the ball away. Gives us a corner kick though, which is positive. And then what was that? That was dreadful. That was one of the worst corner kicks I think I've seen. Oh boy, what a fabulous end to the first half. First Paoletta misses a shot that he should have done better with, and then the corner was just shocking. Oh dear. Anyway, never mind. We'll move on. Tell the players they expect to prove a point today. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with the assistant and try and push them and motivate them to do something and send them straight back out again. No reason to change anybody. Everybody's been rotated a little bit recently. We've had some opportunities to do that, so that's been positive. And that means that most people are reasonably fit and healthy just at the moment. Again, we're moving into the second half a little bit quiet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the game and we're going to go into the tactics, and I'm going to actually change up the tactics and go to the Gegenpress and our 4-2-3-1 formation, just to see if we can push it home a little bit more and see if we can find a way to get something from this particular match. That whilst we're away from home, there's nothing that Leicester are doing to really show that we should be worried about them necessarily so far. So I feel confident about being able to push a little bit and seeing what happens. A couple of changes need to be made. Guive is not playing well this season at all. Whether we messed him up by moving him right and left at the back end of last season, I don't know. But on that left-hand side now, he's only averaging for the whole season like a 6.6. It's not been good enough. Daniels has come in and done reasonably well when he's played. Pauletta's having a poor game today. Monterese, the hero from the last episode that we were at, let's see if he can get a couple more goals. He's done okay recently, which has been really, really good to see. Then we got one more, and we're going to take Joku off just because he's got a little bit less conditioning than everybody else, and just protect him a little bit and put Ivan on, who does extremely well for us. There's no problem with him playing at all. Good young talent coming through. We've got several, half a dozen good young sort of 20, 21-year-olds in our squad, and they're doing pretty well for me overall. It's just Guive this season, as I say, that hasn't. And that brings us to the end of a very quiet game. You can see that there weren't too many highlights created. We had a reasonable amount of shots on goal, and they came back into the game in the second half as we changed it up onto the Gegenpress. But yeah, overall, a little bit disappointing maybe, but away from home against Leicester City, to get a draw, I will happily take that really. So calmly, we'll say unlucky, just to boost them a little bit and keep them motivated moving forward. And we'll go and check out what that's done for us in the league. What it has done basically is it's put us a couple of points behind Chelsea, Man United ahead of us, but we're still hanging on in there, and it's so close at this point. So we've got plenty of opportunities to pick up a couple of good results and move up a little bit again. And there's a whole a sort of 2 or 3 clubs behind us, Leicester, Tottenham, Newcastle, that are still within shouting distance to us as well. So it's still quite tight there. Things are still stretching out a little bit. A few more games down the road and we'll find a few gaps opening up around the league a little bit, I would imagine. Honours even at the King Power, so nothing much to report. It was a little bit of a damp game, but ultimately not a terrible result. And you can see that Monterese there is the top scorer at the moment with 5 goals, having got a couple recently, so he's doing all right for himself. Want a little bit more from Paoletta and a lot more from Guive. That's the things to look out for in the next few weeks. What we're going to come back for next episode, we're going to come back for the Liverpool game. That's what we're going to do. Going to see how we can compete with them this season. Away from home, we'll be using the defensive structure, I would suggest, and we'll see what happens with that. And then we'll have one more game in and around this area to end the calendar year before we go into a little bit of a January transfer window and see whether there's anything that happens there. I wouldn't assume much will happen this time around. We haven't got much finances for it, but you never know. If one of our guys gets sold, then we'll have to replace him. So anyway, that'll do it today. A little bit of a damp episode maybe, but a good result sort of away from home against a tough challenge in Leicester City. Keeps us moving forward in the league. Really happy about that. I'm really ecstatic how this season is going. If we can find a way just to get into this top 6 for this season, that would be an incredible achievement, I would suggest. So anyway, join me next episode for the next game against Liverpool in the league. They're sitting 3rd, so it's going to be difficult. Thanks for joining me today, though. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Join my United City community. Click that subscribe button. If you like this particular episode, then click that like button for me on the episode. That helps get seen by lots of other people. Helps me in the YouTube algorithms, the search functions, the more likes you get. So if you could do that, that'd be great. But until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.